What is up, everybody? It's your boy Duty back again with another video, and this time I wanted to take a look at our boy DSP and his recent erratic behavior when it comes to him talking about detractors, essentially any content creators, essentially anyone that has any criticism, whether it's valid or not, about DSP and DSP gaming. And we've heard it over and over again of our boy Phil, where he's called essentially a cult leader, just the way he treats his viewers, his people that support him, and so on. He's been called a cult leader, and we have a term for what we call the hold that Phil has on his den heads, and we call it the pignosis. And it was funny because recently our boy Phil actually used the pignosis as a way to mock anyone that dares criticize him for having a grip or a hold on his den heads, mainly around supporting him, giving him tips and believing essentially anything that he says. So I wanted to quickly pull up a good article. It's a good website I actually reference. It's good. It's called psychmechanics.com. They have a lot of good information about essentially psychology, psychotherapy, just pretty much a good site where you can reference really good materials. And one of the good articles they have is essentially it talks about cult leaders. And one section in particular is around the characteristics of a cult leader. So they list about 14 main attributes of a cult leader, common characteristics. And I kind of wanted to go through them real quick and see how many does Bill hit. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot of them. So essentially the first one on the list is they're narcissists. And it gives a little brief definition here. Cult leaders believe they're special and are on a special mission to lead humanity into the light. They have fantasies of unlimited success and power. They consistently seeking the admiration of others and enjoy being the center of attention. Okay, we can all agree that that is Phil to a T. Our boy Phil is the epitome of the definition of a narcissist. And, you hear it on his streams. He talks about his streams, when he's not calling it a business, he's calling it, transformative. He talks about how what he does impacts the lives of many people, and he always claims how, all of these random people reach out to him and say what he does is meaningful and it means so much to them. And of course, that's a lie that he spreads. That it's a main reason why he continues doing what he's doing. So I'm gonna say yes to narcissists. Our boy Phil is a narcissist to the T. The second characteristic is they're charismatic. Now, to most people, Phil isn't charismatic. He seems like a goofball. No one really takes him seriously. But when it comes to the people that actually watch his streams, the people we call the denheads, they consider him to be very charismatic. And essentially, charisma is the ability to draw people to you by your charm and personality. How often does Phil, his dents, talk about Phil being, funny and having a great personality, and essentially, praising him for being such an amazing content creator and I guess leader, of the denheads. So while most people don't believe that Phil is charismatic at all, the people that follow him do. I think they do. So, they're masters at expressing their feelings and making their followers relate to them. Like again, most people that watch Phil don't buy it, but yes, this is the case for his viewers. They definitely believe that that his social skills are great, and that he has a great sense of humor, which most people most people that catch even an hour of Phil streams are bored to tears. So I'm gonna say yes to that one. So we're 2 for 2. They're dominant. Okay, so Phil is the epitome of soy boy as we know it. But again, let's think about how he's perceived by his viewers, the people that actually support him and watch him. So, as discussed earlier, projecting dominance is key to becoming a cult leader. Nobody wants to follow a submissive leader unsure of himself. A big part of the dominance is putting down other dominant figures of society so that you can look better than them. Now, remember, we're looking at the YouTube and Twitterverse, and even Twitch if you like. Phil isn't running any countries or has any importance. But if we're looking at it from perspective of being a content creator, then yes, Phil does project dominance. He does talk trash about everyone and anyone, especially if you dare cross him. He tries to belittle you and trash you and tries to assert his dominance. So this is, I'm going to say yes to this. So Phil has so far is batting 3 for 3. And has hit 3 markers of the 14 characteristics of a cult leader. They demand obedience. Do I really need to get into this one? That is a yes. I mean, how many times do you hear our boy Phil trash his viewers, make them feel like crap, force them to apologize if they have a differing opinion from the cult leader Phil? And how many times do you hear Phil tell his den heads not to view distractor videos? At certain points, he's actually demanded his viewers not to watch distractor videos. And if they did, he told them to leave his stream. Don't come back. Don't watch my streams. I don't want you watching me. So, yes. So that is a definite yes for demanding obedience. So 4 for 4, Phil. Number 5, they claim to have supernatural powers. Okay, this one's a stretch, but let's see. Cult leaders do this to highlight the power of imbalance. I'm special. I have access to superpowers. You're not special, so you don't. Cult leaders may claim they have magical powers like talking to aliens, healing, or telepathy. Now, from a supernatural power, no. Phil has never claimed that. He doesn't claim it. I'm just trying to think how this would kind of fit in a streamer's perspective. And the only thing I can think of is, when he talks about him being a content creator for 14 years, that he was one of the first well-known people that did playthroughs, and that he, excuse me, he kind of revolutionized that form of streaming on YouTube many years ago, and people like PewDiePie and other people followed him, and he was kind of a pioneer. That's a bit of a stretch, so I'm gonna say no on that one. So okay, so far we are 4 for 5. Number 6, they're arrogant and boastful. Oh god, this is Phil to a T. Again, to remind their followers that they are above them and reinforce his high status. Of course, I'm the one that created successful YouTubers, and I'm the one, me. The song says it all. So I'm gonna say yes. There's no point in dwelling on these for too long, and that is a definite yes. Our boy so far has hit batting 5 for 6. They're sociopaths or psychopaths. That's number 7. Lack of empathy is the hallmark of a sociopath. Psychopathic tendencies make it easier for the cult leader to harm their followers without remorse. Now, I won't go to that extent, but I will definitely say that Phil lacks empathy. Definitely. He tries to portray a form of empathy with his streamers, but it's a mask. Everyone knows it's a mask. And more than often, the mask comes off, and you clearly see what Phil is. And he's someone that clearly lacks empathy. And, you hear it in his streams. I mean, even when people donate and they may have to do a chargeback for whatever the reason is, Phil lacks that empathy. He clearly does. And, I'm trying to think of something recently happened where, I can't remember exactly what it was. But it was on stream, and Phil just completely showed no lack of no empathy whatsoever to this person. And I can't think of what it was, so I won't get too into it. But I mean, it kind of shocked me how non-empathetic this person is, and most of it is just because he's so focused on his tips and making money and generating money. That's the sole purpose for streaming. But again, he allows money to be the main driver for everything he does, and when empathy bumps up against that, money will always win. So I'm going to say yes to that. So Phil is 647. They're delusional. God. Some cult leaders may suffer from mental illness like schizophrenia or temporal lobe epilepsy. The mental health condition can induce psychosis or hallucinations. Well, we know our boy Phil has dreams where he talks about, he had a dream about doing an interview, and that's the reason why he's now doing interviews. So there you go. So Phil is utterly delusional. When it comes to the way he talks about his streams, his content, the way he talks about his viewers, the way he talks about his the trajectory of his channel, all of those things. Our boy Phil is utterly delusional, and makes it seem bigger and better than what it is. And of course, it all drives back to showing a what's the word, exhibiting a persona, or kind of going back to kind of their not charismatic, going back to their dominance, and he uses that delusion to kind of foster a fake narrative. And of course, you hear it when you hear his denheads parrot the same things he says. I mean, it's ridiculous how many times someone talks about something that happened in Phil's past that, say, a detractor like myself posted a video on, right? I'll give you a good example. So Phil says something on a stream. I post a video and basically says, I'll give you an example. Like today, Phil went on a 45-minute rant blasting Penguin Zero about something he did on a stream where he talked about Phil and maybe didn't have all the information, but essentially did a stream where he kind of called out Phil and Boogie for begging and all that stuff. And what did Phil do about that? Phil essentially just trashed the guy, and he tried to convince him that he was wrong, that he didn't know what he's talking about, and essentially I took that 45-minute segment and posted a video and basically said, Phil 45-minute rant about Penguin Zero, just a very high level description of what the clip was about. And of course, Phil will sit there, and even though I simply just clip everything he said, will sit there and basically be like, oh, if you saw it on a detractor stream, it's fake. It's not true. Even though I just, if you clearly see the video, it's just him talking. Modified, didn't clip it. It's just a whole segment, and he parrots that on a stream, and then you hear his dents just parrot it exactly back. Oh yeah, the detractors are taking your videos and they're clipping them and they're altering it, or they're faking it, and that delusion that Phil exhibits, on his streams, and hearing his den heads just parrot it, just it's kind of like, he's delusional, and then it turns into the pygnosis, and then it turns into den heads essentially just being lemons and just following along and parroting everything he's saying. So I'm gonna say yes to that. So far he is 7 for 8. What else? They're persuasive. Now, for most people, no, Phil's not persuasive. But again, we're talking about his den heads and his viewers. Yes, he's very persuasive into making them believe a false narrative. He's very persuasive into making them believe that, it's a collective. It's a we. You hear Phil says that a lot of times. We did this. We're doing this. And he essentially um, persuades them. He persuades them into believing this false narrative that, oh yeah, we're doing it. Let's stick to the trolls. Let's show them. Um, and yeah, so in a sense, he is very persuasive to his den heads, and he's also very persuasive into milking them and to making them part with their cash, when many of them probably can't even afford to be giving Phil this kind of money. I mean, we had someone, which I will name fake OIC, only iced coffee, and we know it's him, drop almost 2 grand last month in memberships. Who the hell has 2 grand to drop in memberships? Who does? No one. Even people with good money don't have that kind of cash. And then for someone like Phil, who is just, the content is terrible, it's just bad content. Who the hell would drop that kind of money? So you would have to say that Phil is very persuasive when it comes to making his den heads part with their money. So that's a yes. So he's 8 for 9. They're authoritative and controlling. Whether it's Phil's streams or whether it's his wife Kat, not being able to have any social media because Phil has convinced her that he has to, she can't be on social media because he's protecting her. That whole lie. And his den heads, where he's very controlling and he's authoritative, essentially telling them, don't watch detractor memes, don't watch detractor content. And you see him on stream all the time. Someone comes in and says something that he doesn't like, and mind you, with the super chat or a tip, he doesn't like it. What does he do? He eviscerates them, and then he bans them. And then if it's something where he's questioning, where like say Snowcarl is questioning something that Phil said, what does he do? He basically calls him scumbag and then tells him, I want you to apologize. And of course, many of them do. So that's a definite yes. So our boy Phil is 9. I mean, it's looking bad for our boy Phil. He's already 9 of the 10. He characteristics of a cult leader. They're exploitative. Yeah, I don't really have to talk much about that. We all know the goal of all that authoritativeness and control is exploitation. So we all know that Phil exploits his dens for money. He wants to live this lifestyle. So, I always say minimal effort, but maximum profit. Phil wants to avoid any risk and benefit all the reward. So for him to do that, he has to exploit his followers, his deadheads. So that's a clear yes. So, all right, my boy Phil's batting 10 for 11. They're underdogs. Oh my lord, that actually fits our boy Phil to the T. How many times does he talk about he's the little guy? He's the underdog. How many times when someone claps back at him, he screams and cries that, oh, you're down punching. I'm the little guy. I'm poor. I'm on level 1 down here. How many times have we heard that about Phil? And then in the next very statement, he'll start talking about how successful he is. And, how, he's the one that created a successful YouTube channel. I'm the one. Me, just everybody knows it. Everybody knows. Everybody's heard the speeches. Everyone's heard, the contradictions over and over again. So yeah, Phil tries to claim to be an underdog. He fights for the small guys, as he likes to say. So definitely yes, 11 for 12. All right, I think we have 2 more. So number 13, they're intolerant of criticism. This probably might be the one that hits the nail right on the button with Phil. Phil is intolerant of any criticism. Now, he tried to claim, yes, he doesn't mind criticism as long as it's valid. No, even if you give him a valid criticism, he may not outright call you an idiot, but he will fight you on it and essentially give you 1,000 examples of why you're wrong. And then, of course, if you even push back on that, then he calls you a moron and then bans you or times you out, or whatever the hell he likes to do. So he is definitely intolerant of criticism. That is the main reason why he is where he is in his life. He's been doing YouTube for 14 years. He's 40 years old, and the man, can't function as an adult. So far 12 for 13. Now the last one here is they're visionaries. All right, co-leaders infuse your followers with inspiration and hope for a better future. Okay, I'll take that little segment there. How many times our boy Phil that basically cries to a dentist and say, "Oh, I'm having a rough time, but it's temporary." The plan. He likes to always talk about the plan. That once his credit gets better, he'll be able to refinance his house mortgage, and then have some money to spend on daily. Have some money in the bank to be able to spend, on things that he needs, and he won't have to beg his den heads anymore. And essentially, that's his vision for a better DSP is let's keep holding on, let's keep doing what we're doing with the hopes that, or the vision that in just a few years, Phil will be back on top and won't need to beg anymore. So yes, I'm calling that a yes. That is a definite yes. So essentially, if we tally up those 14 characteristics, Phil has hit 13 of them. So the question is Phil, or does Phil exhibit cult leader behaviors? Or is Phil trying to be a cult leader? And I would have to definitely say yes. Yes, his streams, his following, his content is that of something of a cult, and sadly, the people that are going to get hurt are his, however amount of people you want to say that are under the hypnosis. This eventually will, like all cults, it eventually comes crashing, burning, comes crashing down and burning. And essentially it happens when enough people wake up and move on, or, the money dries up. So it's one of those two things that are actually going to happen to Phil. So yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. And it ran a little long, but with Phil's erratic behavior today, basically telling off two content creators because they said something that bothered him, or said something that Phil deemed as detractor-ish. He decided to basically trash these two content creators, in his slimy way. He didn't dare go after Penguin Zero too hard because he knows he has a huge following. He can bury his ass. But if you listen to what he says, he essentially calls him, basically tells him that he's wrong, that he's stupid, or he's foolish for believing these detractor memes, and essentially wants him to contact him so they can have a talk, which again goes to the delusion. So yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna score it and say yes, Phil does exhibit cult leader-like behavior and tendencies, and that's pretty dangerous. So if you're someone that is following Phil on his streams, hopefully you watch this video and you wake up from the hypnosis and you move on with your life. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out.